What's the word, relatives? I said, what's the word, relatives? We're back with another one, man. Today we have none other than Madam Lucy Parsons, born in Avondale, Chicago. Without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and jump into the article of the day. One of them. We got one article of the day, right? It's why the FBI hid the story of the most dangerous black woman ever. Matriarch style. The matriarch. Let's get into it. Lucy Parsons, born into slavery in 1853, made it her life's mission to fight for the poor and disenfranchised. Her work started in Texas, but she was forced to flee to Chicago after police shot her husband, threatening to lynch him for registering black voters. After a workers' protest in 1886, a local newspaper encouraged people to poison homeless beggars or tramps. Who would be begging back? I said, who would be begging in 1853? Parsons responded by writing, "Let every dirty, lousy tramp arm himself with a revolver or knife and lay in wait on the steps of the palaces of the rich." Incredibles. That's incredible. Her words resonated with the masses of oppressed workers. Parsons' active resistance to the system prompted law enforcement to say she was more dangerous than 1,000 rioters. The FBI even forbid her from speaking in public. I mean, they're unaliving men, wanting to hang everyone. It's a hangout party, is it not? What are they? It's nothing to party about, right? When she died mysteriously in 1942, the year mysteriously my grandma pops up. 1942. Federal agents raided her home. They stole 40 years worth of writing on anarchy and socialism. To this day, these works have remained hidden from the public. To this day. We're not gonna edit that out. There she is. Beautiful woman. Beautiful woman. She don't look too much like hey, never mind, man. I don't want to get flagged. So let's figure out how the FBI lost Lucy Parsons. Let's see how they lost her, man. Let's see how they lost her. Bureau files handed over to the National Archives are often provided inaccurate tracking numbers, undercutting efforts at preservation. It ain't no mystery. In order to preserve their value to the historic record, FBI files on prominent individuals and groups are routinely handed over to the National Archives for safekeeping. It's a nice idea. It would be even nicer if anybody could remember what exactly they handed over and where they put it, right? But I don't think that they're really worried about it being found necessarily. They're worried about it getting into the hands like learning and building. I'll get my hands on it. I've made it my duty to get my hands on it. Earlier this year, we ran a crowdsourced campaign to request FBI files on prominent individuals. A crowdsourced campaign to request FBI files on famous women. One of the first names on that list was Lucy Parsons, the labor organizer and activist whose name has become synonymous with people doing the kind of work that should be done. Praise God. Praise Big Mama. Praise the matriarch. We filed the request, and a month later the FBI wrote back saying that Parsons had unsurprisingly made the cut, and records have already been sent to NARA. They had already been sent to NARA. Then they have a little letter here. We're not going to read that. But they did, however, provide the specific reference numbers for the Parsons files, which should make tracking them down in archives a cinch. Should being the operative word here. They refiled the request. About a week later, they heard back. It took a week. They weren't for Lucy, but 30 years of investigatory files on the Communist Party of the United States consisting of approximately 178,000 pages in 71 boxes. So pretty much they're like, this whole article is about how they can't get the records right. We just seen in that last article, they're hard to find. They're hidden from the public, bird's eye view type stuff. I was doing a little bit of digging. I mean, literally like a little bit. It took me maybe like 2 minutes. It took me 2 minutes. I had to move the mic because I got tired of leaning over. Let me see what's going on in Avondale. And usually when you get a building like this in a city where these people are from, you're gonna run into one or two things. One, very racist. Two, the economy is, or even at a third, it's both. And when you see a woman like this here, right here, you start to wonder, was it more about the women? Was it more about the men? Or was it more about when the women and the men get together and they really believe in something, they know it to be true, they know it to be fair, they know it to be right, they know it to be organized, they know it to be part of the code of conduct, right? You'll get a building like this. You'll then run into different things. Of course, architecture. Brick relate to the architecture. She's a brick house wasn't no song for no reason. Church. I'm gonna ease in here, right? Like this is what you see there. Residential architects in Avondale, Chicago. But see, you just see a building, right? So the numbers provided by the FBI referred to a file where she was only mentioned in passing, and another file regarding a completely different woman who happened to share Dorothy's maiden name. Well, what's going on? So they ran into this problem twice. So I might have to do a build on Dorothy Parker. Okay, continuing. Considering the FBI is less than stellar track record with record keeping, but they have a high solving, percentage. They don't miss, and when they come for you, they don't really let you know they're coming, they just pop up. We applaud their efforts to ensure the long-term preservation of these valuable first-hand accounts of the people and events that shape history, but if nobody can find the thing, it kind of defeats the point. It kind of does. I'm in my bag. It's up. Lucy Parsons, Woman of Will. By the Women's History Information Project. For almost 70 years, Lucy Parsons fought for the rights of the poor and disenfranchised in the face of an increasingly oppressive industrial economic system. So we're in a capitalistic economic system right now. It doesn't feed off of the industrial era. What it does, it replaces it, right? It's mainly capitalism. You mainly have to suck while very few people get to live life golden, right? But that's no excuse because we're coming. It's up. Lucy's radical activism challenged the racist and sexist sentiment in a time when even radical Americans believed that a woman's place was in the home. I almost don't even want to speak on that because I don't really believe that. I think that the women are the strongest when they get to go, put their foot in the dirt, let the other people know what's going on. What's going on? Little is known about the early life of Lucy Parsons. She had an African American, Native American, and Mexican ancestry. Pay attention to the last two. She was born in Texas around 1853. Okay, so maybe Avondale is a place of rest, if I'm not mistaken. So she was born in Texas. So earlier I said she was born in Chicago. She was born in Texas era. And it is likely that her parents were slaves during her lifetime in order to disguise her racial origins in a prejudiced society. Lucy went under many surnames. She often went by Lucy Gonzalez, denying her African American roots while claiming her Mexican heritage as the cause of her dark skin tone. So when you see a Hispanic and they're going by Mexican, no, this is not hate. This is just educational and informative purposes only. But if you're seeing in that article that she charges her dark skin up to Mexico, and you start doing some research on Mexico, you'll find some. Hey, shout out Unc for the juice. Unc Rod Hayes, be on it, man. Be on it. That's what the men got to do, man. We got to figure out a way to get Big Mama back in her place. Just in case you missed it. Around 1870, while living with a former slave named Oliver Gavins, Lucy met Albert Parsons, who would soon become her husband. Their marriage, however, was probably not legal. Miscegenation laws forbidding marriage or cohabitation between white people and members of other races prevented interracial marriages at that time. But see, my whole thing is, what if she didn't want to marry him? There you have it. In 1872, while the South was instituting repressive Jim Crow segregation laws, Lucy and Albert were forced to leave Texas due to their political involvement. Albert had worked diligently on registering black voters and was shot in the leg and threatened with lynching. He and Lucy also felt threatened because of their interracial marriage. Okay. What makes her a threat is what I'm trying to get to. Right? Like fighting for poor people and mistreatment is not a bad thing. So what would make the FBI? Oh, exactly. You get it. You see what I mean? You get it. Because what could possibly make her such a violent, inhospitable threat to what you guys got going on? Exactly. Y'all get it? On inspirations and actions. Let's do this one. In the summer of 1877, one of the greatest mass strikes in U.S. history took place in response to the Depression. Rail workers all over the country joined the picket line to protest wage cuts enacted by the Baltimore-Ohio Railroad. In July, the strike moved to Chicago, where rail workers waged a militant battle. Man. They derailed the engine and baggage cars and engaged in sporadic battles with police, who attempted to disperse them and break the strike. Albert addressed crowds of up to 25,000 people to promote peaceful ways of negotiating. Ain't no peace for real. This helped to bring him into the forefront of the anarchist movement in Chicago. Because of his involvement in organizing workers, Albert was fired from his job at the Times and blacklisted in the Chicago printing trade. Hey, Lucy opened a dress shop to support their family, and with her friend Lizzie Swank, hosted meetings for the International Ladies Garment Workers Union, ILGWU. Lucy found herself juggling her career as well as her political work, which was becoming more and more involved. Lucy began to write for many radical publications, including The Socialist and The Alarm, Anarchist Weekly, published by the International Working People's Association, the IWPA, which she and Albert had helped found in 1883. She had little sympathy for bosses who were paying their workers substandard wages. I was just going through that. Her most famous article, Two Tramps, advocated propaganda by the deed, a philosophy that held that only violent direct action or the threat of such action will ultimately win the demands of the workers. She was often considered more dangerous than her husband because she was so outspoken in her beliefs on the rights of the poor. Lucy was also threatening as a militant and radical woman who refused to assume the role of a homemaker. The uprisings of May, By 1886, it was becoming exceedingly difficult to keep the lid on the kettle. People across the country were boiling up in resistance to their working conditions and the squelching of their union activities by authorities. Across the U.S., people were calling for an 8-hour workday, proclaiming whether you work by the piece or work by the day, decreasing the hours increases your pay. You're still working for nothing. So that's what they did. You're still going to work for nothing. We're going to give you 8 hours, and we're going to take what you should be getting paid out your check every 2 weeks. Continue. The strategy was this. Workers would demand 8 hours work with no cut in pay, and if this was received with opposition, they would strike. As a result, 350,000 workers across the nation walked off their jobs to participate in a mass general strike. 40,000 workers struck in Chicago, creating a whirlwind of radical activity and convincing prominent radical leaders such as Lucy Parsons that the country was ready for a mass workers' revolution. I said a mass workers' revolution. Bingo. We like that there. On May 3rd, a strike at McCormick Harvest Works in Chicago became violent as police fired into a crowd of unarmed strikers. Let's keep continuing because it might get real grimy here. Hey, yo, subscribe to the Patreon. The link is in the bio on the channel page. I put all that in the description box. All that's going in the description box. The movement, the Haymarket affair. The movement for the 8-hour workday was one of the most difficult struggles for laboring people in the United States. It is filled with stories of huge protests which were broken up by police and Pinkerton, private security. Many people were maimed and kicked unalive before demands to shorten the workday were finally met. One of the most famous events in the history of the 8-hour struggle was the Haymarket affair. In response to a huge protest at a mill in Chicago in which a few workers were killed by the police, local radical activists organized a meeting at Haymarket Square in downtown Chicago. Over 2,000 people showed up to hear the speakers. Even the mayor of Chicago appeared and reported that the event was peaceful. However, after the mayor left and the meeting's numbers dwindled, just arm you up, please. Listen, you'll figure it out. Marched towards the crowd and gave them an order to disperse. During the confusion, an unknown person threw a bomb into the crowd of police, killing an officer. A riot broke out in which both workers and police were injured and killed. All this over nothing. The days that followed were bleak, as nearly every anarchist and socialist in town was arrested and detained. Though more organized, after Albert turned himself into the police, the trial proceeded. In October 1887, after a lengthy trial wrought with injustices, the men were sentenced to death by hanging. However, eventually, one man committed unaliving himself while in prison. 2 were given life sentences, and 1 received 15 years imprisonment in an appeal. Lucy, stricken with both anger and pride that her husband would unalive for his beliefs in anarchism, headed a campaign for clemency. She toured the country distributing information about the unjust trial and gathering funds. Everywhere she went, Lucy was greeted by armed police, who barred her entrance into meeting halls. And her hard attempts to save the lives of the convicted men. Y'all see it. As soon as you try to, fight for somebody, you're gonna have to deal with these, if you try to even fight for yourself, you're gonna have to deal with these roadblocks, right? So that's why people say, it takes a village, community, unity, all these things, and nobody ever listens. So when they say, most dangerous woman in the U.S., they probably wasn't playing. Never one time did they say she threw that probably tear gas. She probably didn't even throw it. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna read her speech after 9 men tried and sentenced to be executed for speaking in such a way as to inspire the bomber to violence. That's not the truth. One of her husband was one of those men. One of those men was her husband. You know what I mean? So that's not the truth. She's not saying let's do violence. She's saying he was wrongfully accused of doing something he didn't do. You know what I mean? How do you know? It's a bunch of people, right? Unless you have drones in there. Oh, they have drones in there. Nah. Unless you have those in the air, you won't really be seeing anything. You won't know who did it. So she remained an activist after that, the unaliving in prison of Albert. And in 1892 founded the newspaper Freedom, which addressed such issues as labor organizing. She's also part of another newspaper. It's called The Liberator. Okay. And that Freedom addresses labor organizing, ailing, which you know what I'm saying, and black peonage in the South. In 1905, Parsons became the only woman to address the founding convention of the industrial workers of the world. In the early 1930s, Parsons joined in the defense of the Scottsboro Boys and Angela Herndon. Parsons died accidentally in a house fire in 1942. Y'all know better than that, man. That's why I did the little giggle, man. Are you serious? It's always some type of house fire. All them buildings downtowns, and you're downtown and all those. What happened to the building? Well, not what happened to the building. What happened to the people of the building? Right? Where did they go? Okay. Now it all starting to put these dots together. So she had a speech, right, that appeared in the Kansas City Journal with something like this. December 21st, 1886, or I-886. I am an anarchist. I suppose you came here, the most of you, to see what live anarchists look like. I suppose some of you expected to see me with a boom in one hand and a flaming torch in the other, but are disappointed in seeing neither. If such has been your ideas regarding an anarchist, you deserve to be disappointed. Anarchists are peaceful, law-abiding people. What do anarchists mean when they speak of anarchy? Webster gives the term 2 definitions: chaos and a state of being without political rule. We cling to the latter definition, state of being without political rule. Our enemies hold that we believe only in the former. And listen, we ain't been did that. You can go find a whole bunch of peaceful movements, and the leader somehow mysteriously does a vanishing act, right? Never to return again. Do you wonder why there are anarchists in this country? In this great land of liberty, as you love to call it. Go to New York. Go through the byways and alleys of the great city. Count the myriad starving. Count the multiplied thousands who are homeless. Number those who work harder than slaves and live on less and have fewer comforts than the meanest slaves. You will be dumbfounded by your discoveries. You who have paid no attention to these poor save as objects of clarity and commiseration. They are not objects of charity. They are the victims of the rank injustice that permeates the system of government and of political economy that holds sway from the Atlantic to the Pacific. Its oppression, the misery it causes, the wretchedness it gives birth to, are found to a greater extent in New York than elsewhere. And I can relate to that. Like, I've been to New York and it wasn't like the dopest situation, right? The city of dreams, Big Apple, you know what I mean? They don't really, like, you know, that's the city's job. They're the workers. Put your city on those. Go clean up something, city. In New York, where not many days ago, two governments united in unveiling a Statue of Liberty. Remember, this speech is in 1886. So Statue of Liberty, where 100 bands played the hymn of liberty, but almost its equal is found among the miners of the West who dwell in squalor and wear rags. That the capitalists who control the earth that should be free to all may add still further to their millions. Oh, there are plenty of reasons for the existence of anarchists. But in Chicago, they do not think anarchists have any right to exist at all. They want to hang them there, lawfully or unlawfully. You have heard of a certain Haymarket meeting. You have heard of a boom. You have heard of arrests and of succeeding arrests effected by detectives. Those detectives, there is a set of men named Beast for you. Woo! Pinkerton detectives. They would do anything. I feel sure capitalists wanted a man to throw that boom at the Haymarket meeting and have the anarchists blamed for it. Boom. Why would you accuse him and he didn't do it? That's not justice. That's just fall guy. You know, fallout. Booms. You have heard that the anarchists said lots about dynamite. You have been told that Lean made booms. He violated no law. That boom had been thrown by anarchists. The Constitution says there are certain inalienable rights, among which are a free press, free speech, and free assemblage. The citizens of this great land are given by the Constitution the right to repel the unlawful invasion of those rights. The invaders invaded those lawful rights. We have rights. We have a code of conduct. We still have that. We had that. We will has that. You feel me? The meeting at Haymarket Square was a peaceable meeting. Suppose when an anarchist saw the police arrive on the scene with blood in their eyes, determined to break up that meeting. Suppose he had thrown that boom, he would have violated no law. That would be the verdict of your children. Had I been there, had I seen those murderous police approach, had I heard that insolent command to disperse, had I heard Fielding say, "Captain, this is a peaceable meeting," had I seen the liberties of my countrymen trodden underfoot, I would have flung the boom myself. I would have violated no law, but would have upheld the Constitution. This is only for educational and informative purposes only. You know what I mean? It's getting uploaded on other places, like I said, so go to Patreon, you know what I mean? Go to the Discord, go to my website, learning-building.net. In the works. It's pieces up there already. If the anarchists had planned to destroy the city of Chicago and the police, why was it they had only 2 or 3 booms in hand? Such was not their intention. My bad, I done moved the mic. It was a peaceable meeting. Carter Harrison, the mayor of Chicago, was there. He said it was a quiet meeting. He told Bonfield, which is Captain John Bonfield, commander of Des Plaines Police Station, or Des Plaines, you feel me? Or Des Moines, Iowa, you feel me? To send the police to their different beats. I do not stand here to go over the murder of those policemen. I despise murder. But when a ball from the revolver of a policeman kills, it is as much murder as when unalive results from a boom. The police rushed upon that meeting as it was about to disperse. Mr. Simonson talked to Bonfield about the meeting. Bonfield said he wanted to do the anarchists up. What? He want to do the anarchists up? I mean, Parsons went to the meeting. He took his wife, 2 ladies, and his 2 children along. Toward the close of the meeting, he said, "I believe it is going to rain. Let us adjourn to Zepp's Hall." Fielding said he was about through with his speech and would close it at once. The people were beginning to scatter about. 1,000 of the more enthusiastic still lingered in spite of the rain. Parsons and those who accompanied him started for home. These Plain Street police station when they saw the police start at a double quick. Parsons stopped to see what was the trouble. Those 200 policemen rushed on to the anarchist set. Rushed on to do the anarchist set. Then we went on. I was in Zeph's Hall when I heard that terrible detonation. It was heard around the world. Tyrants trembled and felt there was something wrong. It's a long letter. So I want you guys to read it. I'm gonna do the same. The discovery of dynamite that is used by anarchists is a repetition of history. When gunpowder was discovered, the feudal system was at the height of its power. Its discovery and use made the middle classes. Its first discharge sounded the death knell of the feudal system. The boom at Chicago sounded the downfall of the wage system of the 19th century. Why? Because I know no intelligent people will submit to despotism. The first means the diffusion of power. I tell no man to use it, but it was the achievement of science, not of anarchy, and would do for the masses. I suppose the press will say I belch forth treason. If I have violated any law, arrest me, give me a trial and the proper punishment. But let the next anarchist that comes along ventilate his views without hindrance. Okay, without hindrance. So I was searching the Liberator newspaper, right? So Wikipedia immediately always pops up every time you search something interesting. The Liberator, 1831 to 1865, was a weekly abolitionist newspaper printed and published in Boston by William Lloyd Garrison and through 1839 by Isaac Knapp. Religious rather than political, it appealed to the moral conscience of its readers, urging them to demand immediate freeing of the slaves. Immediatism. I don't really say about that. Sometimes you do know it's over, but there's no way to escape that, right? So I kept going. Right, and I got to this Liberator article right here. This is one of their first publishers. Right. Okay, it's the Liberator, published weekly at number 6 Merchants Hall. W.M.L. Garrison editor, Stephen Foster printer. $2 per annum, payable in advance. Agents allowed every 6 copy graded gratis. No subscription will be received for a shorter period than 6 months. All letters and communications must be postpaid. I go a little like this. The Liberator, the salutation. To date, my being from the opening year, I come a stranger in this busy sphere, where some I meet perchance may pause and ask, what is my name, my purpose, or my task? My name is Liberator. I propose to hurl my shafts at freedom's deadliest foes. My task is hard, for I am charged to save man from his brother, to redeem the slave. Yea, who may hear and yet condemn my cause, say shall the best of nature's holy laws be trodden down, and shall her open veins flow but for submit to her offspring's chains? Art thou a parent? Shall thy children be rent from thy breast like branches from the tree, and doomed to servitude and helplessness on other shores, and thou ask no redress? Thou in whose bosom glows the sacred flame, or filial love, say, if the tyrant came to force thy parent shrieking from thy sight, would thy heart bleed because thy face is white? So what I'm doing is I'm reading it slower because I've never seen this article. This article is over 100 years old. It's over 100 years old. Art thou a brother? Shall thy sister twine her feeble arm in agony on thine, and thou not lift the heel, nor aim the blow at him who bears her off to lifelong woe? Art thou a sister? with no desperate cry, awake thy sleeping brother, while thine eye beholds the fetters locking on the limb, stretched out in rest, which hence must end for him. I'm gonna read one more because I love this. Art thou a lover? No, not ere was found in lover's breast, save cords of love that bound man to his kind. Then thy profession save, forswear affection, or release thy slave. That was nasty. The Lucy Parsons, and while she was one of the greatest women you ever know, she fought for rights that some people don't even, some people don't deserve. So Lucy Parsons, 1851 to 1942, is a hero. Like, once you have the wherewithal to do things, you should do those things. And I'm learning that. I'm learning and building, man. I keep trying to tell you I'm learning and building. It's like it's only us. We have the power to change things, both seen and unseen, right? Like, we have that power. We'll keep it right here. Yeah, we'll keep it right here. Appreciate y'all for coming through. Motto, Watto, all love. You know what I mean? Till we meet again. Y'all stay prosperous forever. Don't let nobody steal your shine. Get that shine, get that shine, get that shine. Be full of love, gratitude, abundance of prosperity will come your way.